And welcome back, footy fans, to another episode of Donnie's Disposal. I am your host, Coach Donnie Hess here, back with another AFLW round review. The season goes way too quickly. I say it every week. I know, ladies and gentlemen, you're gonna get tired of me saying it. The AFLW season is far, far too short. We are 9 games through the season. We just got through round 9. And boy, was this an interesting round, shall we say. And joining me as my co-host, she made her debut on the show in the men's. I thought, you want to know what? Let's get her back on because this is a unique character. She's an umpire, but she's a huge Port Adelaide supporter. We have Ellen joining us again, and I know, Ellen, we will not embarrass you by saying how you did it, but how's your recovery? Because I know, unfortunately, you were done for the year when it comes to a season-ending injury.
Yeah, yeah. I did it just before footy finals as well, so I really did not time it fantastically. But recovery's good. We're on the mend, thank God. But hopefully heals up in time for footy season next year. So that's the main goal.
Well, we are crossing our fingers. We will not say what it is or how it was done because I was told pre-mic, and I'm never one to laugh at somebody's pain, but it made me giggle a little bit on how our esteemed co-host has given herself a season-ending injury for this particular season. So, all right, Ellen, let's hop right into it. Round 9 has come, it has gone, and we were served quite the interesting round of footy. If I'm trying, I'm stretching as much as I can here to try to find some positivity out of this because unfortunately, we weren't treated to too much intrigue this round, pretty much until the last game of the round.
Yeah, I feel like it was a pretty predictable round, unfortunately. A couple of good games here and there, good moments by a lot of the
Mhm.
teams, but very much the team that you thought were going to win pretty much won for every game,
Yep.
which
Yep. The
that
only one,
is,
there was one somewhat surprising result when it comes to it, besides the massive upset in that last game of the week. We saw a stunner that yours truly was chuffed when it came to it that this particular result went the way it is, and anybody that knows the podcast knows exactly which one I'm talking about. But I won't prance around like a peacock right now. I will save that for later. Let's jump right into it. First game of the round, and boy, were we treated to an anticlimactic Friday night footy as the doggies take the Essendon Bombers to the woodshed and hand them a nice whooping by 57-67 to 10. Again, I feel sorry for this Bombers team because so many injuries that they seemed like a hospital ward at this point. They just cannot keep people on the park. An injury here, an injury there, a season injury here. So they've been fighting all season, and unfortunately, a young scrappy dog side just absolutely went to town on this Bomber side.
yeah, I feel like that really sums it up. I mean, they've had a rough roll of the dice, this Essendon team. And it's just you could really see it on their field. Like there didn't seem to be a whole lot of leadership there. They're just so young, and that Bulldogs team just absolutely handed it to them.
Yeah, this doggy side, they're fun to watch. They're a little inconsistent because of their youth. I mean, some of their best players are still sub under 23. I mean, Elaine Grigg, one of your best small forwards, is only 19. You still have the double hyphen and Christy Lee Western Turner. I know she hasn't been playing. She's fought with through injury this season, but there's so much young talent. And then you have the stalwart that is Ellie Blackburn, who was absolutely incredible. Isabel Pritchard has been absolutely magnificent this season. I'm interested to see. I think the tribunal has come down with her sanction. Have not checked that with for her fun little MMA elbow to Maddie Prasparkas, and Maddie got opened up. That was quite the interesting one. I know that the broadcast was like, "Ooh, she might have something to say for it on that one." I don't think, again, I never think that stuff like that is intentional. I don't think it was.
No.
It's just the action trying to get the arm off, and it just happened to graze Maddie in like the perfect place to open her
Yeah.
up. I mean, anybody that watches MMA knows that one elbow in just the right spot can open up quite the nasty gash. But I love what the doggies are doing. Sarah Hartwig kicks three
Yeah.
in this game, including one where she had the lower body strength for her to maintain her base and to get boot to ball and have it go dead center was absolutely fantastic. I was happy Essendon kicked the goal when they did, and I know it was only like with
Same.
like 7 seconds left. They got the only goal that they had of the game. It always is hard to watch a game when a team can't even kick a major.
Yeah.
That's difficult. So
That's yeah.
the little mercies of life when it came to it. But oh man, that was a difficult one for the Dons faithful. Let's hop over to Norwood Oval where we are served a cracker as the Adelaide Crows beat the West Coast Eagles by 17, 48-31. But this is one of those where the Crows, they're good.
Yeah.
But in some situations, they keep taking their foot off the gas and letting inferior teams stay with them a little bit more. And like they jumped out to a nice little lead. And again, West Coast made a furious run in the fourth quarter to
Yeah.
make this, like I said, make this the under 3 goal margin that it was. It was probably a 35-point margin. So there's probably a little bit of Doc Clark that's probably kicking himself that this result took away what could have
Yeah.
been a nice percentage booster. But again, Daisy Pierce, what she's doing at West Coast, that's another young, scrappy side.
Oh
I
my.
am thoroughly intrigued to watch this team grow because
Yeah.
Daisy Pierce being able to mold this young side. I mean, Ella Roberts is absolutely fantastic. Like I said, would not be surprised if she's up there with in the best and fairest vote count at the end of the year because she's been absolutely sensational. And then again, Adelaide is Adelaide. Nafi is Nafi
Exactly.
is Nafi. Hatchie is Hatchard. Eloise Jones was fantastic in this game.
Yeah.
Neve Kelly continues to be one of the best wingers in the entire competition, bar none, hands down. Just Adelaide was Adelaide. Like that's
It's
just
Adelaide doing
incredible.
Adelaide things. We know
Yep.
them. We know the team. We know that they're incredibly well drilled. They've been well drilled for essentially since the inception. Like,
Yep.
but yeah, incredible stuff from West Coast to like such a young squad and to come out firing and actually like really give
Yep.
Adelaide a good run for their money. Exactly what we want to see.
Yep. Yep. No, I'm loving what, like I said, it's almost sad to say it, but the fact that Daisy Pierce is the all-time winningest coach of West Coast history and she hasn't even been there 2 full seasons yet, like thank you, West Coast. Thank you and welcome to the party. Like I hate saying it that way, but that it is probably the best hire in the West
Absolutely.
in the short amount of time that the West Coast Eagles have been a club in the AFLW. This is the greatest hire they've ever had. Again, it's kind of a
100%.
sad accomplishment, and I don't like saying it that way, but it is. It's a sad accomplishment that it is that way. But I, what Daisy Pierce is already doing already in season two is
Yeah,
incredible, and they're only going to get better. As we've seen throughout
exactly.
the entire competition, the youngsters that are coming through each and every year from
It's
these
just exponential growth.
exactly like I'm not even kidding you. And I've said this a couple of times on the podcast that the number one overall girl this year, I've been told by the draft expert who I talk with, and he's been scouting girls for over 10 years, said that this girl is probably the best one he's ever seen. And you've already gotten this year's class getting the plaudits of
This
a
year's
super
class has
draft.
been, yeah, this year's class have been absolutely elite. Like they're
Yep.
making so many big impacts in all of their teams, and they are
Yep.
so, so young
Yep.
that yeah, I'm so excited to see how it
18,
grows.
18, 19, 20-year-old players over the last 3 seasons have, if you look at how many youngsters, how many sub 20-year-olds are making huge impacts on their
Mhm.
team and every way. I mean, just in this game alone, I mean, Adelaide, you've seen a revamp of them. They're not the same Adelaide that they were. I think I saw the statistic. There's only 4 players that played on all 3 of the grand finals for the Adelaide Crow in the all 3 championships.
Yeah,
Only have 4 left. Nafi, Hatchard, Chelsea Randall, and I think there's one more. That's it. Other than that, you have seen the regeneration. You've got Brooke Boylow there. You've got India Rashid who's playing for the
yeah,
LA Crows in the on the West Coast. I mean, you've got Ella Roberts, who's I think a third year player, but still in that thing. Lucia Painters, the Wakefer sisters have only been in this situation for 3 years. Charlotte Riggs, the South Australian, who
yeah.
came home, kicked a goal, and I thought it was funny. She kicks a goal, and her fan club, which I think was her family and friends, were right behind the goal as she kicked it. Which
That's
absolutely, I thought
I love
it was magnificent. Absolutely loved it. But the impacts of these young under 20s is incredible. The competition is only getting better. I absolutely love it because now I can go at these internet and now I can kind of have a go at these internet trolls. Look at this. This is crap football. Like, you
Yeah.
clearly ain't watching the games, bud, because
Yeah.
some of these ones are absolute rippers. I mean, I'll do it later, but
Yeah.
my youngster that's on my Sydney Swans right now, I can't get enough of her. And I've been watching her
Mhm.
since she was
Oh,
17 in the Waffle W. So,
she's so
and
good.
oh yeah, I've been bragging about her. I bragged about her on draft night to all of my Swan fans. I
As you
said,
should.
the one we got, I said, you are going to love her.
Yeah.
Not only because she's got one of the coolest names in all of AFLW and Zippy Fish, but she is cool, calm, collected, and an
Yeah.
incredible footballer.
Talent just off the charts.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I would not be shocked if she wins Rising Star this year. Would not be
So,
surprised if she wins the Rising Star this year because she has been absolutely sensational. So we'll talk more about her in a little bit. So sorry on my little tangent there. But no, I this is a new Adelaide team. They struggle in some situations. Again, a couple of losses this year that I think have shocked a few people. West Coast, valiant effort. I think just Adelaide was just a little bit too
a
good
little bit better. Yeah.
in it. And then the fourth quarter, West Coast kind of capitalized. They took their foot off the gas a little bit. I think
Yeah.
even Doc Clark would admit that. So, like I said, the result is a little bit closer than I think it probably should have been. So we go down to GMHBA Stadium in a roller coaster game that the fourth quarter got away from them as the Geelong Cats get a win over GWS 72-45. But as I said, I was watching this game. If you don't watch the fourth quarter, this is a competitive back and forth game. Giants have the Cats take the lead, Giants take it back. Cats take
Yeah.
the lead, Giants take it back, and back and forth arm wrestle game. But the fourth quarter, the Cats went, uh-uh, we ain't
Not
doing this
having
no more, and absolutely lit it up and loving Georgie Prasmarkas through the midfield. When you can get two goals from one of your best
it.
midfielders on your team, midfield goals in the AFLW are gold.
So true. Yeah. Like competitive up until that fourth quarter, but still a really good game of footy and really
Mhm.
speaks to like the
Right.
Geelong talent that they can go head to head and then just still have enough gas in that fourth quarter to really pull it out and be like, nah, actually, we're gonna roll all over you and like just watch us like bomb it in and watch our skills. Like
And the crazy thing
really
with
hot.
Geelong this year is they've had a couple of times where the fourth quarter has been their nightmare quarter. So for them to now have maybe figured out
Yeah.
the fourth quarter and been their quarter where they've been playing fantastic is absolutely great. GWS, they are a pesky, tough side. They've been Jekyll and Hyde a little bit at the start of the year. They could not find their groove. Then they get their first win. Then they upset Sydney in a game that honestly, I don't know if Sydney took them lightly or if GWS was just really up and about for a Sydney derby because they had lost the previous two. They've kind of come back to what they were at the start of the season a little bit. Inconsistent goal kicking got is a little
Yeah.
bit. I mean, again, two of your better players, Alicia Eva and Alice Parker, aren't playing. So to be competitive and to have that disadvantage of some of your best players not being on the park, it's good. I think their coach kind of oh my God, I cannot remember his name for the life of me. I think he's got a great style of football. It's just he's got to get more consistency
Yeah.
and lag from everybody, not just the superstars that you're missing now. And like you're getting impact. I mean, Brody Mowbray's been fantastic. Tarni Evans down the back. Georgia Garnett is a goal snake whenever she gets the football. Seeing some of the youngsters that have come through, Grace Martin down back, I think has been absolutely incredible. I know
Absolutely.
she played in the Sandful with Woodville West Torrens. Sarah Howley, their number four overall draft pick was really really good in this game again. You know, the Cats are a team that they just have so many weapons that if they're
Yeah.
on, they're incredibly
They're
difficult.
so on.
And for a team that's had a tough schedule to be right there and with a chance to make finals with the tough schedule that they have, plaudits to them. So happy for the
Mhm.
Cats that they've been able to make something of a season that I was worried after the first three games of the year was going to be a long year for the Cats, but they started to win some games that they're supposed to. And hey, who knows? Maybe they might be there when the whips are crapping, when the whips are cracking come finals time. Let's head down to Kinetic Stadium, one of the prettiest places to watch a game of football, at least that I see on the TV camera because of the ocean in the background and Kinetic Stadium down in Franga as the Hawthorn Hawks get a win over Gold Coast 60 to 37. The Gold Coast season of pain continues a little bit. The
Yeah.
Hawks,
God.
this is another one that maybe just maybe a little bit of me is this is expectations a little bit. I was maybe expecting a little bit of a bigger win here because they've been so good, especially since Aileen Gilroy has come back. And I know they have no Emily Bates, but they've kind of done it by committee and they've looked
Yeah.
really good doing it. Anya McDonough's kicking goals. It looks absolutely fantastic and fantastic. Tilly Lucas Rod off the halfback has been
Yeah.
it's been a
She's
revelation for her to go into that halfback flanker because it's given her much more space. She doesn't have to worry about the wear and tear on her body like she did when she was in the midfield. So for Tilly, they've been fantastic, absolutely fantastic off the halfback line. I apologize for anybody that caught that. I want to make sure that I use
I also did
the
that. I'm
or
sorry.
I want to use the proper pronouns for Till. She's an absolutely incredible player. They've been incredible. So I wanted to make sure that I had a Hawks friend of mine that was like, "Remember Donnie?" I was like, yes, I know. I'm sorry. I try not to.
Yeah.
I really try not to. I know I'm good with Darcy Vesio. I've programmed it in my head, they, them, for them. So I'm usually good at that. But till sometimes I catch myself. So my apologies to anybody that caught that slip of the tongue. They've been fantastic. I love Till. She's absolutely incredible. They've been absolutely
They've absolutely
incredible.
incredible.
What they've been doing off the halfback line. Liza West over there has been incredible. So it's a fun Hawks team. We'll see how they go against the cream of the crop come finals time. But this is a fun Hawks team
You're
to
right.
watch. And the Suns, I mean,
The
they've been
Suns
the
have
best.
had a rough year. That's
Well,
just rough.
injury, inconsistency. I feel horrible for Charlie Rowbottom because she does everything she possibly can every
Yeah.
game. She gives of her body. I know the Port Adelaide game, she was basically playing with one arm. Absolute beast
Hmm.
That is Charlie Rowbottom. That Jack Tupai kicks their 3 goals, did pretty well. I know Mira Gervin went forward a little bit later and kicked a goal. So I mean it's not like they're playing horribly. They're
It's
just
just not
missing
quite
some
there.
pieces. They're young. I mean
Yeah.
when your talisman as your full forward is a youngster who's just out of your academy, and not like Havana Harris is playing badly. It's just that I mean, she's in a position where she doesn't get the football enough and her talent isn't always shown. So when she does, sometimes she does some magic like
Yeah.
she did in this game. But this is a Sun side, I think they're getting there. The
I
number
think
one
they'll get
overall
there.
girl that I was saying is going to be a Gold Coast Sun. She's a Suns Academy player.
Yeah.
I think they'll be okay. It's just I may have to wait another season or two until the cream of their their academy crops start to
Come
hit
through. Yeah.
and then bode well. So again, Hawks good. I don't think the Suns were horrible. I just think the Hawks are just a little bit too good, and the Suns have just
Yeah.
been fighting with it all year. So
100%. Like, I think Gold Coast, like their men's team, in a couple of years, they are going to gel and they are going to be f absolutely formidable. They just have so many youngsters that are still finding their feet a little
mhm.
bit, but they're absolutely a team to watch in the coming couple of
Yeah,
seasons. They're
yeah.
going to be so good.
I think in the next 5 years, I said I think there's 3 or 4 teams currently now that are not in that discussion for premierships yet. That I think with the way their list builds are and the way the kind of the future cast that I'm kind of seeing, they're going to take over for the Norths, the Brisbanes,
Oh, yeah.
and the Adelaides and the Melbournes. I said keep an eye on Port Adelaide. Your girls, like I said,
Mhm.
5 players built their kind of their core all under 22. Hawthorn is the same way. A lot of youngsters, Jazz Fleming, some of that. Sydney's built really young. I did a breakdown of their things. Like average age this year is like 23.9,
That's
and a
so young.
majority of their best players, especially on their defensive end, are under 25. So, and some of their other best players are under 22. So there's still growth. So I think Gold Coast is kind of in that same thing. Some of their best ones are
Yeah.
still, they haven't hit that maturity age yet, where you're seeing teams like North that have a lot of
So much
30,
maturity.
30s or North.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how that goes. So speaking of your Port Adelaide power, they went up to Brighton Homes Arena up in Queensland, and again, Brisbane doing Brisbane things, getting a
Yep.
29-point win, 62-33. But I loved the fight of this power team. They never give
Agree.
up. They get after
They
it.
try.
This is
That's all I
just
can
one of
ask.
those. This is the only bad part about having a successful season last year.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah, we'll be honest. Okay, the fixture was very, very, very kind to Port Adelaide
Yes.
last year, and they played really well. They capitalized
Yeah.
on it. This year, fixture
It's
little bit
not
more
it.
difficult, and they're seeing a little bit of struggles. Now, they've also had injuries. I mean, Cuthbertson goes down with her ACL injury. I know Lauren Young
Yeah.
missed a good third of the season. It's fantastic to see her out there. I think Port Adelaide supporters who haven't watched the Sample W are starting to see why she was an early signing because she's
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. Again, she hasn't hit her stride yet. When she does, watch out competition. She's
Mhm.
incredibly good. Um, such a young side. I mean, one of the best rucks in the entire competition, and Matilda Schultz. You just ran into a veteran,
Yeah.
experienced, very good Brisbane team that has been built very well by Brendan Starcevich. He has done a fantastic job at
Oh,
building
good.
that squad. And they've always been a next woman up team. That's always
Yeah.
the way they've been. They've lost players to expansion every
Mm-hmm.
single year in the expansion.
And it's
They've
always
lost
happened.
significant pieces, and yet they're still always right there. This is incredibly good side. It had a few hiccups this year, so I don't know if they're going to make top four, and it's going to be fascinating to watch them because they're one of those side. They may not make top four, but they're probably a top four side. So they're going
Yes.
to make things very, very interesting come finals
Yeah.
time. And I'm
Agree.
Port, a heck of a job. I mean, going on the road, you did everything you could. Just
They held in there for a little bit. Like they tried, they
exactly.
showed up, like, and they look like they're finally gelling together as a team.
Hmm.
Like, we've got a couple of young ones in, we've got a couple of old, or like people who've been around the game for a while. And I think
Hmm.
in the next like season or two seasons, they're finally gonna like really come together. And we're gonna see exactly like what powerhouses like Matilda Schultz can do and like Gemma Houghton and like it's gonna be incredible to watch.
Yep. Yep. It's gonna be so much fun. Again, Port's another one I've got my eye on over the next 5 seasons because they could be an absolute powerhouse if they get the growth from Piper Window, Lauren Young, Molly Brooksby, Shanae Goody, Matilda Schultz. That 5 woman squad there could be your core going further
Easily.
in over the next 5 years that I think are going to be so much fun to watch. We'll move to Icon Park, and unfortunately, this is one of those where I ticked this one off before the game even started. I wasn't wrong. North just keep ticking it along with a 36-point win over Richmond, 50-14. That is 23 wins in a row. I hate saying it, Ellen. I've said it almost every round. Right now, I just don't see anybody that's good enough to beat North Melbourne.
I think the only way North Melbourne are not going to win a game are if North Melbourne choke. Like, I just don't think there's another team that can really stand up to where they are. The only way North are losing games is if they don't show up. Like, their team is
Yep.
just, they're just so well drilled, so well oiled. They work as a machine. Like, they're just incredible to watch together.
Yep. No. I've I said there's only two ways they will lose. Half their team gets injured, or every single person that's on the park has their worst possible game all at the same time. Because Jazzy Garner misses a game, they still absolutely pump whoever they were playing. Emma Carney missed the first third of the season now, and she is the ageless wonder. And again, I never want to go to age because again, I'm older than most of these players, so I really don't want to say old when I'm topping over them. But Emma Carney is closer to the end than the beginning, and she's looking fantastic. Like it is incredible to see it. They're so deep that they can take an injury or two and it doesn't affect them. They're really good with their depth. They're getting impact from players that hadn't even stepped on a field for an AFLW game in Blaheem Bogue this year, and she's one of the top goal kickers in the entire league. Like that's how like the rich get richer.
Yeah.
It is insane, and You add Elise Sharon an All-Australian level halfback flanker, wing goes can go through the center midfield as well. Like this is a North team. They're deep, they're talented, they're experienced. They're so much fun to watch. But I am getting to that point where I'm like, I'm kind of done. Like I know I hate when something is predictable, but unless Brisbane or Adelaide meet them in the final and they have their best game and North doesn't, I
Yeah,
have a
I just
feeling I know who's
don't
going to
see
win the premiership this year because I have not seen anything from Adelaide, Melbourne, or Brisbane that convinces me they've got enough depth to be able to handle everything that North can
yeah.
throw at you. I mean, North really hasn't been challenged this year, if you really think about it. They've had a couple of games a little bit closer than they probably should have been, but they really haven't been challenged. They haven't really, I don't think we've seen top
It
level
hasn't gone
North
down to
yet.
the wire. Yeah,
Exactly.
no,
Yep.
I
Yep.
wholeheartedly agree.
They've been tested. They've had a couple of times where halftime it's within 4 points, but the second half they usually go, oh yeah, we are North Melbourne
Mhm.
and we're really good. Okay, and then they go out and just absolutely destroy the team that's across them. So yeah, it's Richmond. Good job. You did the best you possibly could.
They
I
tried.
mean, it's been a struggle this year. They fought with injury and inconsistency just as much as anybody. The only team that's probably had it worse is Essendon. So no, it's
Yeah,
nothing to hang your hat on, Richmond. You did job. Ellie McKenzie was fantastic. Mon Conti again, two elite
incredible
level
setup.
midfielders, two of the best, absolutely incredible. But Ashradell and Jazzy Garter right now, like
They're just,
it's a two-headed
yeah,
monster, and I don't think anybody I if you have to stomp one, I think I would tell most people I would stomp Jazzy Garner because she's making the scoreboard impact. Ashradell, I think you can let her kind of be a disposal merchant and kind
yeah,
of be able to kind of absorb it. But it's when Jazzy Garner's kicking two goals from the center midfield and making that big an
just,
impact. Like
yeah.
if
She
there's
just
gonna
can't
be
be.
if you're gonna tag anybody, I think you tag Jazz. I think you tag Jazzy and just hope Ash Riddell's ridiculous amount of ability to get the football is lower impacted because Jazzy's
Yeah.
kind of taken out of the game. So we'll move to the one where I'll can I be a little bit chuffed here, Ellen, because I
Absolutely.
will be 100% honest. I did not see this result coming. I did not see this performance coming. And it is nothing against the girls of the Sydney Swans, but I mean, the previous four games had discouraged me a little bit because they looked disorganized, they looked uninspired, and I was worried going into against an up and about Carlton team that I think has been playing. They've been the darlings of this year's season. I know Hawthorn was the darlings last year. Hawthorn and Port Adelaide of the previous two seasons have been the
Yeah.
darlings that everybody falls in love with because look at this little team that nobody expected to be here playing so well. Yay. It's like a toddler taking their first steps.
Yeah.
Everybody's yay type of thing. And that's what Carlton has kind of been because they've had the upset over Adelaide. They've played really well. And Sydney just kind of, I mean, they
Then he
proverbially
came out
they
firing.
punched Carlton in the mouth and Carlton went, whoa. And they never really did recover. They had a couple of fight backs where they got it to within two goals, and I know that a few of my Swans friends said squeaky bum time a little bit because we were worried another comeback from a team on the Swans, but
It was
Ali
good.
Morfitt, Monham, and Laura Gardner, a little bit like Jazzy Gardner in Ash Riddell. Gardner gets the disposals. Ham makes the impact. In fact, Ham probably should have had four goals in the first quarter, but she was a little wayward on two of the shots and went kick 2-2. So it's a little frustrating. We got to work on Mon's goal kicking, but they were incredible. The forward pressure from the forwards when Carlton had the footy it was insufferable. Seeing Lulu Puller kick a goal in that one, and the funny part was is that they were saying like, we can tell the wind. Look at her ponytail, as her ponytail is literally like a crown around her head. It was, it was incredible. No, Ali Morfitt was fantastic. This was a game I thought Ali needed to have a good game because Jess Good and Brianne Harrington are a really difficult matchup. They're strong.
Yeah.
They have size to them, but they can get around the field, and they're not a pushover ruck. And Ali Ollie Morfitt absolutely monstered them at times. They were destroyed them in the center clearance.
Mhm.
At one time, I think it was a 14-2 advantage center clearance. So I mean, Sydney did
Monster.
exactly what they kind of did in that first four-game series. They monstered through the middle. They kept getting the footy. They kept pumping it into their forward 50 and let Holly Cooper, Chloe Malloy, Sarah Grundon, and that the young kind of get after it forward squad get after it, and they did exactly what they needed to do. I loved it for Sid. I loved it for Sydney. Carlton kind of gets brought down a few pegs a little bit, but I love it for Sydney. They kind of got their season back on it.
Yeah.
And looking at how a few results came out, 3 games left, and definitely the possibility
True.
all of them are now chances for Sydney that if they win, they make
Absolutely.
finals and get a crack at trying to win a premiership this year. So, I mean, your thoughts on this? Again, I could go for days on this game because again, it this was a stunner for me.
Yeah, no, I think you've summed it up really well. Like this Sydney team, again, another one to keep your eye out. They've got so many new and up and coming young superstars. Like they're just, and this has been one of their like probably best showings all year. Like absolutely monstering Carlton out of the center. Their forward line, incredible. And their back line, just bringing it out. Like, yeah, they just look great.
Yeah, their back line was back to what I had seen in that first 4 games. I mean, Brianna Tarrant is an absolute rock back there, and I mess with her a lot because she's been on the podcast. I love BT to death. I still remember hearing the story of where she was when she found out she was an all-Australian and she was in the Himalayas at the time. I know that they wrote a story. I knew about that too. I knew about that like 2 months before that story was even written because she sat there during a pre-podcast taping and told me all about where she was, how she found out. And I remember telling her, I messaged her after she won it. I said, "This doesn't shock me, VT. You were incredible this year." I said,
Yeah.
"I know it wasn't an easy season because they finished 16th. They finished 16th of 18th. It was a tough season, but she was probably one of her and Laura Gardner were two of the brightest lights of last season last year because she was incredible down back, fully deserved her AA jacket. You bring in Ash Van Loon this year. I know she was dropped. They brought in Sarah Still Parker. Didn't do too bad, but I liked bringing Ash back in, and Ash did incredibly well. I believe she should retain her spot next year. I think she actually did really well. Jazz Grierson's been incredible. A pickup, a delisting signing from the GWS Giants has been incredible off the halfback flank. I mean, you set me up perfectly. Zippy Fish off the halfback flankers looked absolutely incredible, including the set play with Alice Mitchell doing a handball to Zippy, who is running the opposite way, and then absolutely lacing out Mon Ham on the opposite side, and then Mon having her run from the defensive 50 to about 45. The only way that would have been better is if Mon would have kicked a goal. But she put it just to the right for a behind.
Uh,
It was probably one of the
what a
best
setup.
behinds I've ever seen in my life because Alice Mitchell brings it out of the goal square, handballs it to Zippy, who's, like I said, going the opposite way of Alice. So the defenders kind of trail over Alice's side. And the kick by Zippy Fish was absolutely, I mean,
Mhm.
centimeter perfect. Dennis Committee, eat your heart out. I mean, literally hit Monham perfectly in the chest, and Mon had a paddock all the way to the forward 50. It was absolutely incredible. Loving what Zippy's doing. Again, Chloe
Oh,
Malloy kicking 2 goals in this game. Holly Cooper up forward, and Sarah Grundon playing really well. Tanya Kennedy kicking 2 goals. The Irish defend our probably our defensive specialist when it comes to the midfield play, kicks 2 goals in this game. That was absolutely fantastic. So, again, giving some love to Carlton. I know I think Mimi Hill missed this game. They
yeah.
struggled to get a hold of the footy, and then the defenders. Harriet Cordner was fantastic. I know she was having to deal with all sorts of football that entire game. She looked very, very good, despite having to play and be around the football a lot more than she probably would have wanted to. Again, Sophie McKay would look absolutely fantastic. This is a Carlton team that you're starting to see some youngsters
Yeah.
really emerge from the side. They're gonna be fun to watch, but that was a stunner. Could not believe my eyes as that game progressed. Just to see a win at Henson Park. That was absolutely
Incredible.
incredible. Let's head back down RSEA Park in between Melbourne and Collingwood, and I'll be bluntly honest with you, Ellen. This was a defensive, arm wrestle
Yes.
of a game that St. Kilda just did enough to get the win. I know Ash Centra was a late out in this particular one, and it seemed like Collingwood just never really recovered from it. I know Ruby Schleicher was back. She kicked the one and only goal for Collingwood in this game. Defensively, both teams were really solid. It became a dour affair through the middle section of this
Yeah.
game. I mean, Jessie Wardlaw is probably the reason why this result is the way it is because she was absolutely incredible going forward. But I mean, I'll be bluntly honest. This was a tough watch. Both teams just dour, fighting through it.
Yeah.
Both defensively very sound.
Just a very
Wasn't the
defensive game.
Exactly. Was not the most appealing to watch. Again, St. Kilda, they did what they needed to do. I don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing them. They did what they needed to do. They got the win, get the 4 points, keep yourself in finals in a final spot to
Mhm.
where you
Yeah.
can make your first finals ever as a AFLW side. So yeah, so I mean, St. Kilda did what they wanted. Collingwood is kind of the same thing. Bree Davy, you didn't get her this entire season. Ash Centra's taken a little bit to kind of warm up. She's
Yeah.
shown flashes of why she was the number one overall, but she struggled a little bit in struggling sides. That fully makes sense. I mean, great performances. Lucy Cronin, the young defender, still absolutely fantastic. I know it's a monster to face Jessie Wardlaw, so she actually did quite the good job. Britt Benici again is a disposable machine. She gets the football so much. I know she was incredible, but this was one that St. Kilda did what they needed to do. I really don't want to harp on it too much. So
No, sums it well. Just
especially
yeah,
considering let's
defensive.
go to the shocker. Let's go to the stunner. The last game of the round proved to be the game of the round as the Fremantle Dockers stun the D's out west at Fremantle over 40-35. I kid you not. I could not believe this result. I had to double watch the highlights to be sure I wasn't seeing something because I did not see this coming. This is a Melbourne team that's looked absolutely sensational this year and have had moments where they've shown that they, quite frankly, have been the second best team the entire competition. Again, North has got a
North
significant
miles
gap
up. Yeah.
between them and two, and Melbourne had kind of stepped away, but unfortunately put their foot in a divot and and face planted in this one because the Dockers did just what they needed to do, holding on for a 5 point win.
Yeah. No, I think and Dockers came out steaming, like 4 goals to in the first like quarter and a half. Incredible.
Mhm.
Like fantastic work from them and all credit to them as well. Like I have a feeling that potentially this win is really going to come back and bite Melbourne. It's like they're
Yeah,
they're up there, but like Hawthorn are up there as well, and so are the Crows. And like I really think that this could have been a really solid win for Melbourne, and they just fell a little bit short there.
yeah, yeah. This was a tough one because this is a Docker side again. They've got trounced by North Melbourne and Brisbane in a 2 week span. So this I was worried that would we see another one of those because you do have the likes of Kate Hoare, Eliza McNamara, Taylor Hanks through the center midfield, which is evening out the turbo the Bowers, Ash Aisling McCarthy, and Ann Stan at midfield, which is pretty good in itself, especially with Mim Strom, one of the best rucks in the entire competition. Is the Dockers they monstered the middle to start off the
Mhm.
game, and the D's they recovered, pulled it back, took the lead there for a little bit, but
Yeah,
the Dockers
they just
they
came
got
through.
done what they needed to get done. The veteran leaders and the Haley Millers of the world absolutely fantastic in this one. Again, could this cost Melbourne a home final in the qualifying final because now Hawthorn has jumped them into second place? I agree with you. They could rue this loss because this is and what doesn't help is a Sydney team with some more confidence, just beating a good side.
Yeah,
Now you got to play Sydney, who has found their momentum
they're
and
coming
maybe,
off.
yep, exactly. And you're coming off a loss. You're traveling all the way back from Perth. It leads for a cracking game between Melbourne and Sydney this particular upcoming round. So, well,
Absolutely.
Ellen, that is all nine. That is all nine games from this fun round nine through with us. As for usual, let's go to the burning questions. And I want you to put your fan hat on here for just this
Absolutely.
littlest bit. This round saw a majority of games that unfortunately were blowouts. As a fan of footy and as a fan of the AFLW, is it discouraging with when you have rounds like this with a lack of competitiveness in all these games?
I want to say no. Like, I can see how people would be like, oh, it's so annoying watching blowouts every week, or like this round having a heap of blowouts. But like, we see that across all forms of competition, regardless
Hmm.
of sport.
Yep.
Like, it goes through peaks and waves, and some teams are on and some teams are off, and they might just have a bad week. Like, I don't think it's a systematic issue. I think there are many more systematic issues with the AFLW that probably should be addressed, but I don't think these sorts of blowouts, I just don't think it's as big of a problem as people seem to be making it out to be, especially with like the increase in the quality of the like up and coming draftees. I feel like we're going to see less and less of these sorts of rounds as we go through, just because like young girls actually have the ability to play all through like high school now, and they have the ability to get drafted. And I just think we're going to see a much better, like an increase in the quality of like the AFLW. So I don't think I don't think it's a problem at all. Like I think it's just part of how sports go.
Yep. No, I was gonna say the exact same thing because I know that there's people online. There's people online, and again, I try not to engage with the knuckle draggers, but it's really is kind of a situation where I look
Hard.
at it and I go, well, here's the thing that I say though is I've seen some men's rounds that are just as bad, if not worse. So I
I
really, I
yeah.
really, I really don't like to engage with that type of stuff because it is just somebody that's trying to get a rise out of it because they want to make themselves feel important because they think that they know something that everybody else doesn't. Most of the time they don't. They're just a Neanderthal that has not progressed past I see food, like literally type of thing. So I'm it, it's a little frustrating. I will say that it's a little frustrating because
Yeah.
I love competitive footy. I hate when games get to the point where you're going into the fourth quarter and the game is done. Like I hate those games because
No, I
I've
agree.
sat through ones both on the winning side and the losing side, and they're discouraging even both ways. And somebody's like, "Well, if your team's winning, why is it discouraging?" Because I
We
want
want to see the
competitive.
sport played well. Yeah.
Exactly. Like I've like I said, I've said this on a few podcasts, and I know Craig, he giggles, he kind of chuckles a little bit every time I say it. But Craig Wessels, the Yank on the Footy, who does a podcast up here, has this quote, and I agree with him. He says, I want to see my team win, and I want to see 8 competitive games. And I fully agree with that particular thought process. I would even say is that even if my team is playing, I don't want to see them get a blowout. Again, I sat
No,
through
don't.
a 200-point score by the Sydney Swans, and I told a lot of people I was halfway through the third quarter and I was bored, and my team was winning. My team was eventually go up and kick 200 points, but I was bored because I don't like that type of footy. I hate when it's literally non-competitive. It's not entertaining to watch. I want competitive games. Some people, like I said, I'd rather die from a heart attack at 55 because my team is playing exciting games and getting me up and about than a ton of blowouts. I can't I don't like it. So again, a little
Yep.
discouraging, but again, sometimes you're just going to have that happen where it's just you're going to have nine
Yeah.
teams that are just better. It's going to
Hmm.
happen. So, like I said,
Exactly.
and it happens in the men's, especially this year. It happened several times where it was like it was
It,
pretty obvious who
yeah.
was going to win, just my
Yep.
ladder position where they were going to go. So, let's have some fun. We have 3 rounds left. Okay. Again, what I hate about 12 rounds is it just goes way too damn fast.
Okay.
3 rounds left. And how many teams? So I'll go through the ladder really quickly. So looking at it with 3 games left, we have a 2 point gap, a 1 game gap between Fremantle sitting at 11 to the eighth spot with my percentage currently is the West Coast Eagles with 20 points. The Western Bulldogs sit with 12 along with Port Adelaide and Essendon, but with 3 games and 2 games and 2 games back in the win column, I have a hard time seeing it. So for you, just kind of what I'm going off of, currently there's 11 teams within 1 point of that final spot. How many teams do you think are actually fighting for these final spots? Because I listened to one of the wrap-up shows, and for them, it really is only 9 that they give Sydney a chance because of their superior percentage. Geelong's biggest issue is that percentage dip from 117, which is what West Coast is currently sitting on, to the 98.8 that Geelong is on. Maybe just a littlest bit too much for them to make up. So really, at least in this expert's minds, it's Sydney and the eight that are already in fighting for those eight spots.
I would agree. I think the key game is next week. Geelong and West Coast
Hmm.
are playing, and I think that is going to be the key to whether Geelong is still in this fight. If Geelong can win, absolutely a solid chance of finals, regardless of what happens in those next two games.
Hmm.
But I think that it's probably, I feel like Freo are probably just too far down percentage wise.
Yep.
And I just don't think the Dogs have it in them to win
Well, in
the
the
number of
like,
games that they need to.
yeah, their percentage is nice, but their biggest issue is they need to win all three games and then hope West Coast, Sydney, Geelong, Fremantle lose all those games, and a few of them are
I just
playing
don't
each
see that
other. So it's just
happening.
not gonna, unless you get draws. I don't see it happening. But again, again, all respect to the doggies. I mean, they kind of made up for getting getting into a hole. But I'm with you. I think if Geelong pull off this win over West Coast, which then brings them even points wise, then I think you really are looking at 10 teams. But right now, just looking at it percentage wise, it's hard for me not to see that it's the eight that are in Sydney fighting for
That's
those
it.
eight spots.
Yeah.
And really, when it comes to it, I think it's West Coast and Sydney fighting for that eight spot because
I think the rest is set.
I don't see Carlton and St. Kilda losing the next three games to bring the possibility of the six or seven seed into the realm of possibility for the Swans. So but it's going to be fun though. It's going to be entertaining because I think North Melbourne, Brisbane is this week. So the
There
top
are
of
a
the,
lot of
the
games.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of games in that top of teams in that top eight who are playing each other, and I
yep,
think that's going to be incredibly informative for our
yep.
finals.
Adelaide and North is actually it's not Brisbane, it's Adelaide and North. I forgot. That's the matchup. Yes, there's some like I said, there's the three game set right in a row for is the West Coast Eagles Geelong, which is a prime time game. Saturday, no, Friday night. They're the Friday night. They're the
I don't
second
know.
Friday night game. And then start off with the cracker down at Casey Fields with Sydney, Melbourne, then North Melbourne, Adelaide. That's
Yeah,
it. And then Carlton, St. Kilda are playing each other as well.
yeah. I think the shakeout from next week is going to be
Yep.
what forms the finals.
Yep. I'm 100% with you on that. So, all right, let's let you put your Port Adelaide hat on. Go full Nuffy if you want to. It's perfectly fine. As the Port supporter that you are, your thoughts on this season that unfortunately has been marred with injury and inconsistency.
I think we did so well last year that I think we came into this season expecting to do almost as well. And like the draw just hasn't come out in our favor. We've had injuries. It's been a very hard season. And I think we were just like, oh, we made finals. Had an incredible finals run last year and we just overperformed. And I think this season is probably a little bit of like bringing it back down to earth and being like, oh, it's actually kind of hard. Like maybe it's not as easy as we thought
Hmm.
compared to how we did last year. And I think the dichotomy of like having a fantastic final series versus having a really hard draw and a really tough season with a lot of key outs is just been a bit of a shake up.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. I hate going there, but it is kind of the truth that it's still until we get 17 games at least where everybody's playing everybody once.
Yeah,
This is going to happen. You're going to have a team that's going to get a softer draw. They're going to get to finals. Maybe they pull a Port Adelaide and they stun and they get to a preliminary final. But then the reality comes the next year when because of where you finished, you
you
now
end up, yeah,
have some of the cream of the crop now on your schedule. So instead of playing the bottom eight sides, you're playing the top eight sides. So you have a much more difficult draw. I don't think Port's a bad team. They fought through injury again. Losing Cuthbertson earlier in the year really hurt. Lauren Young still recovering from her knee injury.
yeah.
Um, she's been a miss because I think a lot of people were really expecting her to come on this year. Piper Windows missed some time. Just
That's
you've fought through injury. You've had inconsistency going up forward. I know Indy Tahu had to be pulled and went up forward. She's been really good down back. She's she's capitalized on her spot up forward, especially since
Really.
Ash Woodland has moved into the center midfield, which having a big body midfielder in Ash Woodland has been fantastic. She's looked incredible in this new change. I mean, Shanae Goody is Shanae Goody. She's always fantastic. Abby Dowrick again, ball winning magnet. It just hasn't clicked the same way
Yeah.
this year as it did last year. And again, a little bit of the opponents, but this year there's just been a little bit of inconsistency in some spots that you didn't have last year. So again, this is a learning year. Again, Lauren Arnell
Absolutely.
is a really good coach. Again, you've got the building blocks for for a 10-year stretch where I think Port Adelaide
Oh
is
yeah.
consistently going to be a finals team, consistently being talked about as a team that could potentially win a premiership once these 19, 20, 21-year-old girls get another season of games into them. You get a second season, you get a few more extra pieces here and there, and I think you definitely have a very good shot of being quite the team going forward. Sometimes you got to deal with a little bit of pain, a little bit sometimes,
Yeah.
but again, I am not off the Port Adelaide bandwagon as anybody that listens to this. Again, maybe it's my connection to the Sample W, but I've seen Piper Window, Lauren Young, all these young Sample W girls play. They're incredible.
Yeah.
And they're showing now why they were so good, why they were looked at as being some of the best players in the country in their draft year in the year that they signed their so again, Port Adelaide, they're fine. I kind of expected this year, if I'm
Yeah.
being 100%, I kind of expected a little bit more of a difficult draw. I wasn't expecting them to make finals. They're competitive. They're playing some tough, again, I cannot wait for this week. They get Hawthorn again, which would be fascinating to see
Gonna be a good one.
two teams that I think honestly are the future of the competition along with Sydney and West Coast. I think are the four teams that I think are going to take over for the Adelaides, the North Melbournes, the Brisbanes, and the yeah. So as the top the elite level teams because they've built for the future, unlike some of the others who are a little bit more experienced sides in the competition. So, all right, Ellen. Well, that is all of my burning questions. Again, always fun to sit there and have that. So this is going to be a little bit interesting because I'm fascinated with what you see on this. Again, I do my team of the week and my power rankings. Again, I take over the podcast in a little bit. I'm not sure how much you keep track of all the players. So if you need any help when it comes to it, I will start on the fullback line. Again, I'm a coach. We start with defense. My two fullbacks are Serene Watson of the St. Kilda Saints and Poppy Bolts of the Brisbane Lions. You kick two goals as a defender, you're instantly in the team of the week. On the halfback line, we have Emma Swanson of the West Coast Eagles, Keely Coyne of the Hawthorn Hawks, and Gold Coast Mira Gervin. I know she went forward, but she played most of the game in the defense, so we'll give her a little bit of plaudits and flowers on that one. In the center at the ruck, Lauren Pierce of the Melbourne Demons. Out on the wings, we have Maddie Newman of the Adelaide Crows and Hawthorn's Caitlin Ash Moore are my two wings. Through the center, some absolute rippers here. We have Georgie Prismarcus of the Geelong Cats, North Melbourne's Jazzy Garner, and Sydney's Mon Ham round out the center midfield. Along the half forward line, we have Tarni Evans of the GWS Giants, Sarah Hartwig of the Western Bulldogs, and Anya McDonough of the Hawthorn Hawks. On the full forward line, we have Aisling Maloney of the Geelong Cats and Gold Coast Jack DePie round out the starters. On the bench, defender Maddie Gay of the Essendon Bombers. My midfielder is Tanya Kennedy of the Sydney Swans. My ruck is Alice Edmonds of the Western Bulldogs. My forward is Carlton's Poppy Schultz. And my utility, I love this young lady so much. The Irish superstar, for 75 games played, Orla or Dwyer of the Brisbane Lions is my utility for this round. A fascinating side this year. I love it. Every single one of my forwards kicked at least three goals this week, so it was absolutely easy for me to pick the side when it comes to the forwards. Your thoughts on team of the week?
I unfortunately I don't pay attention particularly well to players, be that in any sport, male or female. I get players confused quite consistently, which makes it really hard.
Nope, not a
But like,
problem.
yeah, like from the names that I recognize from the list, they all deserve their spots. Like, yeah.
Yeah, absolute ripping round of footy. It was some great performances, like I said. Monham going for 25 and 2, and I'd love to see her meter. I needed to check her meters gained because the long 60, 70 meter run that she had off that kick from Zippy Fish was definitely added a few kilometers to that, a few Ks to that particular total. So, all right, we'll go to the power rankings again. My homage to the origins of the podcast and the fourth and long part, as he loved his power rankings. So through 9 games, here are my power rankings again. I go off form the last 5 games, how many games you've won in a row, and then how many games you've won through the last 5 games. So at 5, the Adelaide Crows. At 4, the Brisbane Lions. At 3, the Hawthorn Hawks. At 2, the St. Kilda Saints. And at 1, surprise, surprise, shocker, shocker, holy smokes, they're gathering dust at 1, the North Melbourne Kangaroos. So, yep. So, I mean, I can't really take North off there. When you won 23 straight, you haven't lost a game, you haven't really had much of a challenge. I mean, that spot is stapled in unless we see a stunner, which unfortunately I just don't see happening. So we always end the episode with tipping. I know we're still early in the week. I know injuries still haven't come out, but Ellen, will you humor me here? Let's tip this round of footy. I'm fascinated what you think. And conveniently, we start off Friday night footy, Alberton Oval, as your beloved Power take on the Hawthorn Hawks at Alberton Oval. I'll ask you, head versus heart, who do you got in this one?
I look, might be wishful thinking, but I think Port Adelaide at home, they're always a chance. They played fantastically well against Brisbane, and they've had some really good home games this season. I'm going to very optimistically say Port, but that is definitely going to be contingent on what injuries we get notified from the weekend,
Mhm.
because there are some key players that I definitely would like to know, and I think they're going to be really key for Port.
I'm gonna say it like this, and this is not me going against you, but I'm gonna say that I'm gonna tip Hawthorn, but I'm going to say this caveat. It will not shock me if Port win this game. Will not shock me a bit. This is a coin, in my opinion, this is a coin flip. If this was at Kinetic Stadium in Victoria, I'd be a little bit more confident in that tip because Hawthorn play Kinetic Stadium
I
really
agree.
well. Port play Alberton really well. The fan base,
Yeah.
the fan support is really well. That'll get up you about, especially up and about, especially under lights at Alberton. It's going to
Oh
be a
yeah.
nice environment. Cannot wait to see the Port Adelaide faithful get around the girls because they have. I've really enjoyed seeing both the Crows and the Power fans get around their women's team. It has been absolutely sensational. Again, tipping Hawthorn, but I think Port's a chance in this one. This is a 51-49 type of thing for me, 52-48 max. I just don't see Hawthorn being that much better. And Port on their day can throw a stunner,
Yeah.
especially if you get Matilda Schultz like in beast mode when she can do mark of the year. She can be an absolute disaster. And facing one of the Whale sisters, who they're really good at rock, but can they stay with Matilda will be the biggest thing on that one. So again, tipping Hawthorn, but I think Port is a super chance. And then not to be outdone, also on Friday night, I think is an
Yeah.
absolute cracker. As you said, this
I,
this is this really will depict can Geelong make finals or not. Eagles, Cats, Sullivan Logistics Stadium out in Perth. And I'm tipping the upset for some people, but I don't think it's an upset. I got the Cats in this one. I think Georgie Prismarkis, Nina Morrison, Michaela Bowen, that midfield, I think there's a few too many stunning, talented players to the midfield. I think they can override Ella Roberts and this Eagles side. This is not one of those where I'm really intrigued on the ruck battle because it's really a couple of players that honestly they're serviceable, but they're not memorable. Like Sarah Lakay, love her to death, but she's not an impact player. And then Geelong has the same problem their men's does, is they have a ruck who I can never recognize. Because they just don't have a recognizable ruck. Reece Stanley, I love you to death, buddy, but you're not a recognizable ruck. You don't draw a lot of attention. And the women's side is now running into that same problem as I can't even remember who's been playing ruck for them because it's just not something I'm expecting. But their depth along the field, I think Aisling Maloney and their forwards and Jackie Perry, I think could cause so
yeah.
many issues for that West Coast defense. I know it's on the road, I know it's out west, but I like the Cats in this one.
The I agree this is also another very 50-50 toss up, and I've gone with the Eagles purely because it is their home game and
Mhm.
it is
Yep.
out west and it's a travel game, and I just think that they are so close, and I just have a feeling that that road and like the travel might just be Geelong. Like it might just make them play a little bit less intense. And I think that's all the Eagles need to really get
Yep.
one over them. But it's going to be a 50-50 call either way. Like it's going to be an incredible, like it's going to be potentially the game of the round, maybe.
No,
At
I'm
least fallout wise. Yeah, but
mhm.
I've gone Eagles. So
No,
we'll
no.
see.
It's oh man, it is gonna be a ripping one. That and having both of those two, like literally my Friday afternoon is gonna be so much fun watching both of those games. Whether I get up for both of those games at the clock, probably not, but I'm gonna enjoy. I'm definitely going to sit down and watch both of those because I think both those could be ripping. And then my Friday evening, Saturday afternoon for you guys, fun one. Casey Fields, as we see it, Melbourne Demons coming back, licking their wounds off that trip to Perth, and a Sydney team that's up and about off a win. I'm gonna tip the D's in this one because I never like a
Agree.
team coming off a tough loss. They usually come back with a little bit of vengeance. Sydney going down to Casey Fields again. How do they handle the wind, considering this is the first time they've ever played the D's, along with first time ever playing at Casey Fields, which is an experience in and of itself from everything that I hear. It's the home field advantage and the
Yeah.
star power of Eden Zanka and Kate Hoare that I think could be a little bit too much for the Swans. But I think this is a 60-40 game. I think the Swans have a little bit more of a shot than some people are going to give them credit for being Casey. We'll have to see. Their kicking game could be affected by the wind, which I think could really help out the D's in this situation. But cracking game in this one. I hate tipping against my side, but I can't not go that I think we see a lift from the D's.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. I've also gone with Melbourne for this one. And I think they're going to be so annoyed at their loss that they're just going to come out absolutely roaring.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
going to be
no,
good.
100%. It's going to be that is going to be a ripper, and then not to be outdone, the next one right after that sees a top of the table clash 1v5 at Arden Street Oval as the North Melbourne Kangaroos. Can they do it again as they face the Adelaide Crows? I mean, I'll ask you this question, but I think I already know who wins this one.
It's got to be North. They just look impenetrable. There's nothing else to say, honestly. They just look so good.
Yep.
And they
This
look
is
like such a team.
this is one of the teams. Adelaide is one of the teams that I think has the depth to stay with North, but it's the impact of Bogue, Rennie, Sheilor, Garner, just so many. I just don't know if Adelaide has enough weapons to be able to handle what North is going to throw their way. I agree with you, tipping North. I'm not looking at Adelaide going, you have no shot. Again, when you have Nafi and Hatchard and Eloise Jones and some of the players that Adelaide has, some of the best in the competition, there's a possibility. I mean, what happens if Jazzy Gardner goes down in the first 2 minutes with a concussion? Again, touch wood. That doesn't happen. I don't want that to happen. But if something catastrophic happens early and it could throw North off, it's a possibility. I don't see it happening. I think North's a little bit too good. I think North's really well drilled. So much fun to watch. North wins this, but I think the Crows give them a game. I think this really does come down to the fourth quarter. This could be does can North survive the onslaught of Adelaide early and then be able to use the fatigue of Adelaide having to put so much in to be competitive that North gets it in the end purely off fatigue, um, because of the more increased talent and depth on the north side for that one. So interesting one at Henson Park up in Sydney as the GWS Giants host the Dockers. The Dockers flying cross country on a high off that win over the North Melbourne Demons. This is an intriguing one for me because this is another. I want to know what team I'm getting because if I get best possible GWS, I think GWS is in this with a shot. I'm going to tip Fremantle. But again, I want to know what GWS team I'm getting. If I get the GWS team that I've had for majority of the season, Fremantle is just too good. Too many weapons, too much talent through the midfield. The in every line there is more talent on this Fremantle side than there is GWS. But Again, this is a pesky GWS side that if they can keep it close, they've got some weapons, and Zarly Goldsworthy is an absolute unit. Absolutely love her to death, and she can be a game changer when she wants to be.
No, I agree. I've also gone with Freo purely because I think just coming off of their win against Melbourne, I just think they're going to be up and about. And I think given that GWS kind of fell off in that final quarter, if they play like they did it with Geelong, I just think Freo just had it.
Yep, no, 100%. And then another ripping game of football on your Sunday afternoons. He's Carlton v St. Kilda at Icon Park. This is a ripper because the winner can almost stamp themselves into final, and the loser maybe in a little bit of concern with 2 games left and still being on that knife's edge of making finals and missing.
Interesting. I think I've gone with Carlton. I don't know how they're gonna respond to their loss against Sydney, and St Kilda are coming off 2 good wins, but I just think Carlton are probably a better side than St Kilda have had to face in a couple of games, and I think that's probably going to shock the Saints.
I am with you. I think the midfield dominance of Sydney, I don't think St. Kilda doesn't have that dominant ruck. St. Kilda doesn't have that overwhelming depth when it comes to the midfield. They've got Georgia Patrikios, they've got Tanya Smith, they've got Jamie Lambert if she's healthy. I know Jamie, I think, missed the last game with injury, but I think you should get Mimi Hill back, I believe. And I think you see a bounce back from Jess Good and Brian Harrington after kind of being monstered by Ali Morfitt in this last game. So I'm tipping Carlton at home. You kind of lick your wounds. You kind of have that. You get that competitive game right again. So you can't really focus on the loss to Sydney, which I think is going to be perfect for Coach Buck and his Blues. So I have the Blue Baggers in this one, but St. Kilda's going to give them a run. Jesse Wardlaw is an absolute terror. So Harriet Cordner is going to have another long day, unfortunately. If St.
Yeah.
Kilda can get their hands on the footy, that'll be a fascinating one. One that probably has the least amount of intrigue for me is Essendon at Windy Hill hosting Brisbane. I mean, I'm crossing my fingers that the Dons do not have another game like they did against the Doggies, or this is going to be a long afternoon for not only the Don supporters, but their players, because Brisbane is very good. I have the Lions winning this one, and I worry this one could get ugly quickly.
Yes, I agree. I just Brisbane are just so dominant, and Essendon are just not having a great season. There's not much else to say on that, really.
Yeah. I'm not going to waste too much hyperbole on this one. Plus, I want to get to this next one because I know
This
this
is
is 16th
good.
versus 17th, but this could be a ripping game of football. Hoping Ash Centra is back as the Collingwood Magpies host Richmond. Again, Richmond trying to kind of salvage the end of the season, get a few wins, get some continuity into their game before they head into the off season. This is a coin tosser for me because Collingwood's battling with injury, like I said. Is Accenture going to play? If she doesn't, I would lean towards Richmond. I think, I believe,
I
if I
agree.
remember correctly, I did tip Collingwood in this one, but I'm tipping under the guise that Accenture will be healthy and she will play because I think she can make an impact. But Richmond, man, Mon Conti, Ellie McKenzie are both playing some really good football. They need help. They need some others to come
Yeah,
along. Yasmin Yassir did play a little bit better this round. Caitlin Greiser's had her moments this season, but it's been inconsistent. It hasn't been the same every single week. Tipping pies in this one at Victoria Park. They play their home ground really well, but I'm not counting out Richmond in this one because they're playing better football. They
yeah,
played a good North Melbourne team. I think they played a decent game of football. They just played a better team.
yeah. No, I've gone with Richmond. Like they've played a decent North Melbourne team. They beat the Crows. If they play like they have the past couple of weeks, I think they can absolutely
Yep,
beat Collingwood very comfortably,
yep,
especially at Vic Park, which is a hell of a ground.
yep. No, I'm 100% with you. Like I said, that's another coin toss game. That was a difficult one to tip, and then to end it, I love it. Up in Mackay, Great Barrier Reef Arena. Cannot wait for this. Gold Coast v the Western Bulldogs, a couple of young, scrappy sides. Again, neither of them are probably going to make finals, but I think you're going to see these two
It'd be a
teams get
good game.
after it. This is going to be a good one. I'm tipping the doggies. I think the doggies are playing a little
I
bit better
agree.
football. Again, I need to see. I wouldn't be surprised if Izzy Pritchard Mitch's, which that's a That's a big loss for this doggy side. But Ellie Blackburn, Charlie Rowbottom, seeing those two bulls go after it, man, that's going to be so much fun to watch. Tipping doggies, but again, I'm not going to count out the Suns that on their day they can have, especially if Charlie Rowbottom can make an impact. You never know.
Yeah. No, I agree. I've got doggies this week over the Gold Coast. I just think doggies are just that little bit more structured, a little bit more mature, and I just think they're gonna get it done. It's gonna be a good game, but in the end, doggies just gonna they've just got what they need to get over this Gold Coast team. I just don't think Gold Coast quite have it this season.
Oh, it's going to be fun and cracking. Like I said, hopefully with all of these games that I think could be 50-50, could be quite the round of football coming up. Cannot wait for it. So, well, and that is all 9 games. That is everything that I have on this podcast. Again, I want to thank you so much for hopping on. I know you messaged
No
me a few weeks
worries.
ago letting me know of your injury and you weren't sure if
Yeah.
you were going to be able to help me, but as the weeks went on, you messaged me back, said that you thought you could get up and about, and I appreciate that so much. So thank you so much for hopping on the podcast. It is great to catch with you. Like I said, I'm sending positive vibes your way that you'll be
Yeah.
up and about, healthy and at top nick going into next season because we always love having you as your umpire. So
No worries. It's always been good to chat, especially with our rounds 9 and 10 being Pride round.
yep.
Love seeing all the jerseys come out and love seeing everyone get around the AFLW.
Yeah, no, 100%. I was gonna save my talk of the Pride Round jerseys for next week. Again, I think they've been magnificent. Again, another
So
absolutely
good.
scintillating year. I have not seen a bad Pride jumper yet. Have not seen
No.
it. It's like the indigenous jumpers. It's really
Oh,
difficult to screw it up. The only way you can screw it up is to not have it. Sorry, West
yep.
Coast. I can't not I can't not take a little bit of the piss out of you on that one. So no, I'm 100% absolutely love them. Some of them are visually stunning. Absolutely. I had a jumper clash in one of them where I was almost like, "Wait, who's who?" A couple of them, but they've been sensational
Yeah.
again. I love Pride Round again. So many people that I know of in the community that support the footy that I'm a huge, like I said, huge advocate for that. That I love how inclusive the AFLW is. They really make it great for everyone to feel comfortable at the footy, to go and to watch the footy and to support their club. Absolutely love it. And the interaction between the fan bases, unlike the men,
It's
there's a little
beautiful.
bit more cordial and there's a lot more of a friendship atmosphere. You may be rivals on the field, but in the long run, we're allies and friends in real life, which is always absolutely fantastic. So that is going to do it for this particular episode of Donnie's Disposals. Again, if you like the way that I cover the AFL, I truly appreciate, would love a like and subscribe if you could, would absolutely appreciate it. And that is going to do it. And we will be back with more footy coverage very, very soon.